Hey friends, it's me, Christiana Gaudet, your tarot fairy godmother. I want to share a tarot deck with you. Maybe you can think of this as a tarot deck review, maybe just a flip through, or maybe just some commentary. And it's a follow-up to the live stream class I just did very recently called Mixed Media, which was a class about how we combine different decks and different methods of divination in the same question, the same session, the same reading. So if you find anything that I'm saying here interesting, you might want to go back and watch the replay of this class. Now, what does this deck have to do with this class? Well, this is the deck that I renamed my big guns because I will only use it as an adjunct to another deck in a reading and only when there's a need for the big guns, okay? Now, I'm going to show you the deck. I'm going to explain why this deck got this status. And I'll also tell you that I haven't used it in a long time. I couldn't find it. It was buried. It got buried like in my last office move. And I was looking for it for the workshop, for the Mixed Media Divination workshop. Couldn't find it, but I just found it. So this is Tarot of Transformation. It is a really, really beautiful deck. Oh my gosh, it is a gorgeous deck. Now, it is out of print, but still available. And the prices I've seen range from $40, which is what I paid for it new many years ago, up to about $175. So it's not one of those decks that has gone crazy in terms of price being out of print, which means there's not a huge demand for it, and I understand why. But I also think it's a beautiful deck, and I think I'm sorry that it's out of print. So this deck, what can I tell you about it? The creators of this deck, hang on one second, I'm just looking at some notes here. Okay, so the artist is Willow Arlenia, and the author is Jasmine Lee Corey. And it was published. When was this published? You know, it was back in the late 90s or early 2000s was when I got it. And it was published by an unusual publisher. It was not a typical publisher. And like the cardstock is super flimsy. And I had a few of them, of these decks, because I taught a class on this years ago. So this could probably time it out. Years ago, say probably 2000, very early 2000s. I taught a series of classes in person in New London, Connecticut, and Mystic, Connecticut, called, what did I call it? Important New Tarot Decks, where when a new tarot deck came out, and there wasn't the proliferation that there is now, there weren't a lot of indie decks, right? So it wasn't, that would be an impossible task now because there's so many great new decks coming out. But at the time, I was looking at the new decks coming out, and there were some that really struck me as being important for a particular reason. I thought this deck was important okay, here's the reason I thought this deck was important. The artwork, but the fact that it works with sacred geometry, and the fact that they have a very specific take on tarot, which is non-traditional. Now, I remember when Diane Wilkes did a review of this deck, she called it a tarot oracle, saying, yes, it's a tarot deck, but not quite. It's so far away. Like a line she used in that review that I've never forgotten. My concern is for the archetypes. Like, it's a great deck. The images are cool. It's interesting. It's tarot inspired, certainly. But do the archetypes hold? Most of the deck is renamed. And the meanings of the cards, as Diane said, the archetypes are a little different. So, okay, let's just go through and let me show you. Oh, I'll tell you something else about the flimsy cards. The flimsy cards, blah, blah, flimsy. but also the fact that I had a few copies of it because I bought a bunch because of my class. And some of them direct from the factory were damaged, so they didn't do a great job. And the other thing, I've never experienced this before. When I open a new tarot deck, I love the smell of it. This deck did not smell good. It does now. It smells like a tarot deck now. But when I first got it out of the box, it did not smell good. I've never experienced that before. So this deck had some problems, right? But let's go through and look at it. Okay, so you can see that the court has been renamed. We have the teacher, we have the healer, okay? And we can see that the majors have been renamed. The hermit is now the crone, called the light of introspection. Okay, here's the Three of Wands, called authentic nourishment. So you can see what they did is they gave like a new name to each card, not just in like actual nomenclature, but like keywords and keywords that don't really hearken to any particular tarot tradition, right? The Four of Wands, opening the heart. Can you see that? I sort of can. But the Five of Cups, natural intimacy. And there's a book that came with it. I'm sure it's somewhere on my bookshelves. I read it. I tried to understand it. I couldn't. And this is why I cannot use this deck to do an actual reading, because it's so far away from what I understand as tarot. The Eight of Cups, human doing. What the actual? What does that have to do with like abandonment, walking away, walking towards something? I don't know. But Wheel of Fortune, flowing with change. I love it. The Teacher of Discs, passionate play. The Eight of Swords, equanimity? Maybe, yes, no, I don't know. The Sun, the radiance of being, sure. Five of Discs, releasing stuck energy. I see it, sort of. 16 is the Tower. They call it Kali, shattering the structure. I kind of like that. The Six of Pentacles, the web of life. I love that. The interconnectedness of us as we share one with another. The Two of Discs, balance in material life. Sure. The Server of Cups, attending to emotional needs. I like it. The Seven of Cups, drama queen. I don't love that. The Ace of Cups, dissolving into oneness. Okay, maybe. The Ten of Swords, leaving the story. Four of Discs, manifesting home. The Magician, I love this. Master of conscious creation. Ace of Wands, grounding for creativity. Love that one. The Nine of Cups, mental detour. I don't know. The Two of Cups, authentic connection. Love that. Love that. So in this deck, Justice is card 8 in the Major Arcana, and it's called Balance, restoring cosmic order. The Teacher of Swords, inquiring mind. The Teacher of Cups, exploring the inner landscape. Don't you just love this art? The Three of Cups, receiving grace. I don't know. The High Priestess, feminine mysteries, intuitive wisdom. Okay. The Fool has kept the name. Innocence or ignorance? I don't love that. Maybe you do. Master of Cups, abiding in love. I love that. So I'm not going to go through all of these. But you can see it's a fascinating study, right? It's really interesting. The pictures are interesting. Whether or not you love every card, I mean, I do love every image. I don't love what they've done with every card. But some of it I just think is so beautiful. And the thing is, here's how I use this deck. Here's why it's the big guns. When I'm in a situation with a client, and actually I haven't done this in a long time, but it's what I used to do, and I might do it again. In a situation with a client, and I just can't come up with, is it this or is it that? Should we do this or should we do that? This is the deck I like to go to. I like to spread it out and have the client pull either a single card or 3 cards. And from there, I can usually, now that I've seen, we've done the reading, we've dug into it, I know all the ins and outs, I can then take 1, 2, or 3 cards from this deck and come up with the answer that I couldn't get before. So consider this both an interesting walkthrough of an out of print but still beloved deck, and an addendum to the class Mixed Media Divination. Friends, I want to thank you so much. Do you own this deck? Do you have this deck? Do you want this deck? Do you like this deck? Let me know. Take care.